What's up guys, it's Elige, and today I'm going to be going through all my settings in NVIDIA, my video settings, and all my current commands that I'm using to play the game. So getting started with my NVIDIA control panel, I usually always just put the preference emphasizing to performance. So I just press this first, drag the slider, and that just gets everything at the spot where I don't have to just change every single command. Next, we just go into manage 3D settings, and I pretty much just go into low latency mode. I have mine at on right now. I'm never really even sure what the best setting is right now since it's always changing because the NVIDIA boost doesn't necessarily work exactly the right way that it should be, or maybe it does now. I honestly stopped keeping up with it. But for right now, I'm using on. For texture filtering quality, I put that to high performance. VSync off always. And that's pretty much the only things that I change here. I don't change anything else. And then for resolution, just make sure that this is at the highest refresh rate. I know sometimes people will buy a monitor and then they won't even realize that they're not on the right resolution or like the right refresh rate. So make sure that all these things are good here. Now, getting into the video settings, I am currently playing 1680 by 1050, full screen, of course, highest refresh rate at, whatever I'm using right now. And my background is Office, if you were curious. And then the advanced video, boost player contrast, I have that on right now. I think that it does help a little bit, just see when models are a little bit further distance. After that, I have my anti-aliasing at 4x MSAA. I think that it helps on some maps. Global shadow quality should be high for everybody. So important, especially in this game where there's so many lights everywhere, where you can just see, somebody's shadow running around the corner. Maps like Ancient, maps like Nuke, really important to have that on high. The model/texture detail, it's supposed to have just a little bit better of like a model texture when getting dinked. This is something that I'm adding recently, but that might change. Then bilinear, low, those ones don't really matter that much, so I'm just trying to maximize FPS. Ambient occlusion, I have it to medium. What this command does is pretty much when people are going to be next to walls, there's going to be a little bit of a shadow that just shows on the wall. Not necessarily like from light, but it's more pronounced in light. It can be medium, it can be high, just don't have it disabled. I think both of these are fine. High dynamic range, something very similar with the shadows, just have that one on quality instead of performance. And then for NVIDIA Reflex low latency, I have it at enabled right now. And kind of like what I was saying about the NVIDIA control panel, people kind of like put the low latency mode either on or ultra depending on whatever you have on this. I honestly don't know. I stopped keeping track of it because there was just so many, differing things that I was seeing. So for now, enabled is good for me. You can put enabled plus boost, and if it's working great, then that's great. Now going through my config, I do have everything in an auto exec. The reason why I have it in auto exec is because in CS2 compared to CSGO, there's not like a very easy config file. So we ended up just making an auto exec and putting every single command we could think of in here. This is pretty much what the result of that is. It's going to be a ton of commands. And if you go to LAN, you'll probably want to do this as well, because when we're going to LANs, they don't have full internet access. So you have to make sure you have all these commands in here. Showing how to actually get to the directory of where you want to put your auto exec, you want to go to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, CSGO, Game, CSGO, Config, and you're going to want to put it right here where mine says Elige. You're going to put your auto exec, you can name it whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. So when you exec it, you want this to be in this location. Starting off with the top things in my config, I have a jump throw and a W jump throw. So these are both aliases. Pretty much everyone uses a jump throw because it's the most consistent way to throw nades on the run. Normally, you don't have to think twice about it if you threw it at the right time and you heard the sound cue. In our experience, it's just a little bit harder to throw jump throws while you're running because, maybe you're saying something. Some people have really weird movement keys. And honestly, it's just very clunky. It's just something that really doesn't need to change. I think that they should have just kept the jump throw how it was. Next things, I just have my movement keys here because like I said, I need everything either bound or unbound. As you can see here, I have my movement keys, and then I also have like my unbinds. So anything that I don't use, I also unbind, just so at LAN, if whoever was setting up my PC has something bound to, a random key that does something I don't want it to do, then it just gets unbound. And then for binds, this is going to be like a mix and match of, useful binds and obviously just normal ones like bind slot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mouse 3, just pressing down my scroll wheel, that just does the big crosshair like this. Very useful for lining up nades. Any little mishap or variation in a smoke or a flash, and you can end up losing the round from that. And that's why it's so important for us to have consistency in everything we do. And 6 and 7, these are going to be my custom view model binds. My 7 is just doing preset pause 3 and 1. So view model position between desktop and classic. Anytime that you see somebody, either show you a smoke or you're looking at a YouTube video or a short, whatever, they are most likely going to be either using classic or desktop. And if they use anything like with their pin or like this tip, you're gonna have to either use the bind like I have, or you can just find it on whatever view model that you're using. But sometimes it's not that easy to find a view model. Next, I just have toggle seal right hand 0 and 1. That's not a thing in this game yet, but when it comes back, I will be ready. You should definitely have no clip, especially if you're going to be doing any server work. For my bind O, this is just a little small thing. In game right here, if I press O, I just give an HE smoke flash, AK, it all just drops to the floor. Next thing I have, this bind R reload -attack 2. This is actually really helpful, especially when you're doing set middle click throws. So if I want to throw a set HE somewhere, let's just say that I'm letting go of my right click too early, you see? I can let it go a little bit too early or my left click too early. That might actually ruin the lineup. So just to make it perfect and consistent, I can just press R, perfect every single time. You can also do the same thing with a right click, but probably not going to have many lineups that are just a perfect right click. Next one I have here that I think is important is toggle seal radar scale 1 and 0.3. This just pretty much makes your radar go really zoomed in. So if you look in the top left, my radar is extremely zoomed in. The main way that I use this is navigating smokes. So if I want to know, exactly where I am in a smoke, I can literally just look at my radar and just walk through the whole way. I know exactly where I'm going the whole way. I honestly am pressing this key quite a bit. I think it's very useful. The 0.3, that's going to be whatever your radar scale is normally. So if you use something different, just swap it to that. And 1 is just the most zoomed in that you can go. Bind X player ping. Ever since they added pinging, why wouldn't you have it? If you want to just show exactly where one of your teammates should go, playing a pug with one of my friends that doesn't know all of the callouts that I use, I'll just say, just go over there. Just go under Belk. Just hide in the corner and I'll go next to you. I have a current crosshair command because the apply crosshair code command does not currently work. So this was a command in CSGO, not a command anymore. Subsequently, I have all of my crosshairs on binds from 890- and equals. So anytime that I have like a rotation of crosshairs, sometimes I just like going through them. Right now, I kind of just have like some variations of dots. So my main crosshair is this square dot, and my 9 is a smaller square dot for very small headshot angles. I don't really change it if I'm just like, shooting at someone like at a headshot angle here, for example, or I'm shooting at someone like top default right here. I'm not going to change it for that. Only if I'm about to get in a very long range duel and I know I want to put it lower. It also is just very easy for me to just swap through them if I wanted to during a game. I don't really do that often. I mainly just try to stick to my main crosshairs right now, but I think crosshair binds are nice to have. The annoying part about crosshair binds is you actually have to put every single command in there. Otherwise, if you have a crosshair that has XYZ settings and you only change the X and the Y on another crosshair and not the Z, then you're unfortunately going to get a command that you probably didn't want. It might ruin the look of it. Grenade binds, you should definitely make sure that you use nade binds. I think that it was one of the most helpful things that I did for my career. It took like maybe 2 days to get used to back in like 2016. I still am like dumbfounded when I see people scrolling through nades like that. It's 2024, guys. You can't not be using nade binds at this point in time. I don't use HE as like a nade bind. It's just 4 because I just want to have one button access to every single nade. With my HE, if I have it, I'm just going to press 4. Make sure that it's very easy to hit. I know people use Z, X, C, V, those types of nades. I ended up just changing it to completely different parts of like the keyboard and my flash is on my mouse. I also used to have my Molotov on H once upon a time, and that became a problem because I was accidentally just dropping my gun when I wanted to press my Molotov. You want to be able to quickly use every single nade that you have in your arsenal, like if you had to. Next, with all of these settings commands, going to be a lot. This is my current sense, zoom sensitivity. This is just going to be changing either your AUG or your op/scout. Full screen gamma, this is just the gamma command. I have it at 2.1. You can try whatever you like. Rate 1 million. They did up it in CS2 compared to CSGO. In CSGO, the max was 786432, but now it's at 1 mil. So you might as well put it at 1 million, especially if you have a good connection. Safe zone X and Y, this just changes how zoomed in your HUD is. So if I put a safe zone X to 0.5, it's going to just put everything closer. I'm very used to looking in these spots, but if you can get it closer, I think that it is more helpful. For CL allow animated avatars, I have that at off. I think that it's just an FPS sync for no reason. These two here are just my HUD settings. You can copy them if you think they're aesthetic for you. Use opens by menu. This is just making sure that your E does not open up your by menu. CL radar with scoreboard. This was actually something that as soon as I got into CS2, I'm like, dude, what's wrong with my radar? If you don't have that command on, every time you press tab, your radar will turn from a circle into a square, and I thought that was very distracting. CL crosshair sniper width, this is just how thick your op scope is when you have it. So this is pretty much what it's going to look like if you have it at 2 like me. This is what it looks like when you have it at 1. CL player ping mute. So all this does is when you're pinging something, there's no sound. I personally don't like having a sound. CL sniper auto resume. This is going to be just every time that you shoot, it auto resumes. So if I'm scoped in, I shoot, I want this to auto resume. This is, of course, just going to be preference again. CL teammate color show, you should 100% have colors on. It's just much easier to communicate when you can just look at your radar and just communicate like blue, you need to push ramp right now. Purple, I'm coming to you. Green. And I'll do that even with my teammates. It's just easier to look at the radar because I don't know, every single time who's who. Sometimes people are in different positions. It's just easier to say the color, especially if I need to be quick. CL team counter player count instead of avatars. So at the top right now, how it shows 1 alive, 0 alive. I think that it's much easier, especially when you're in the middle of a round, to just look up there and just see how many people are alive compared to just counting. And sometimes if you have coaches in the server, it shows 7 instead. And I don't know, it just looks buggy to me and I can't quickly access information. Probably been the most consistent thing that I've been saying like in this video is I like information to be consistent and not have much variance with it. So I want to see like the same things like every time. After that, I pretty much have my build info at 0, FPS max at 999 instead of 0. It supposedly is better for frame times, so I have it at 999. So going into the sound settings, I pretty much have all of my sound settings here, but I'm going to be showing them in the game instead. I have LR isolation at 100% and perspective correction on no. And I just feel like it's the easiest and most similar to CSGO settings that I like using right now. So for the EQ profile at natural, I just felt like it was the one that felt the best for me. I thought that smooth didn't really feel right and crisp kind of hurt my ears. And perspective correction, I honestly kind of forgot exactly, how it felt to have it on versus off. But I kind of just found the settings that worked for me, and I felt like this is the most similar. And then for these bottom music settings, the most important thing here is the 10-second warning volume. You want to have this at a good volume, and it's not 100% accurate in terms of when you hear the sound, you're 100% 10 seconds, and you're going to like land a no-kit full stick diffuse, but it's good to have that reference. Even if you're in that ballpark, you'll know. Like, if you have a kit, you'll know, okay, I have 10 seconds, so I still have a couple more seconds to get on the bomb. Whatever it is, I think that it's extremely, extremely important that you have this on. That is it for all of my settings. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if there's any setting you think that I should add or you're wondering why I don't have a different setting on. You can let me know. And hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.